But no, I wanted us to actually shift real quick and go to actually our first main topic, which is going to be Wonder Man. So those of you who've been this show's amazing, and I'm going to give my thoughts. We're going to each kind of kick around. My first out the gate is I had no clue that, and I'm not going to. We can talk about the situations themselves as we go. I had no clue Trevor Slattery would end up being the character that he ends up being, and I'm not ready to fully spoil that just yet. But I'm just like, good lord, man, that character has so much heart and so much like it's unreal. It's unreal what they've done to him.
I
The character of Wonder Man, I liked the acting and I liked what they did. This was not your typical Marvel thing, and I was really into this.
would
That's
say
all.
that I don't know if you remember, but the day that that Wonder Man dropped, I sent a text to our little group chat, and I said I'm only on episode 2, but I'm amazed that they made Trevor Slatterly into a character,
Like
and that's the
real,
thing.
like genuine. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
because he's not just a joke. Because even in Iron Man 3, when they introduced him as the Mandarin, he was just, I mean, yeah, it was, ooh, he's scary for the first half of the movie. Then the big reveal happens, and then he's just a joke from that point on.
Even
And
in Shang-Chi, when he shows up, he's more or less a punchline half the time. He's an
right,
excuse to have the goofy little butt face monster creature thing run around with him.
right. So this is the first time that we see Trevor. We know who Trevor was. We
Yeah.
know what a joke he is to everybody, but we see the real Trevor in this. We get to know the person, not just the butt of a joke. And you know what's really interesting is that the series opens up with them watching Midnight Cowboy, and Trevor is clearly the Dustin Hoffman character
Yes.
from Midnight Cowboy. And obviously, Wonder Man is the John Voight character, and that's kind of what we get here. Is it's a superhero version of Midnight Cowboy.
That's hilarious. I think that's a great comparison. For me, I think for those of you playing at home, we're gonna go ahead and I'd love to talk a little more. Danny, give me your thoughts, man, before we get into some of these breakdowns.
Um, so I I really fell in love with the Trevor Slattery character as a recovering. I was going to say recovered, but you never really are alcoholic, and how different he was, which makes a lot of sense because in Iron Man 3, he's just a raging alcoholic, coke addict, hooker addict, just terrible, disgusting human, doesn't really know what he's doing, just trying to get his next fix, whether it's booze or bitches or women. And he
Wait, booze, bitches, or women?
no, no,
What's going on?
I didn't finish I'm trying to clean up my act. Why you got to
That's
call
the
me
Las
out?
I'm just
Vegas.
trying to figure
That's
out
the
what
Las
your past
Vegas
is
in
like,
you.
Danny. Because
So anyway, um,
Sorry,
I
folks. That's the strip in him. I apologize.
I sent you guys a text in our group thread where before this movie came out, WandaVision was my favorite Marvel TV show. This is easily my favorite Marvel TV show. That said, I would have preferred it be cut out all the recaps, the multiple intros, the long 5 minute. The credits are 5 minutes. You could have had a 3 hour, 3.5 hour tops just movie without all those breaks, and I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Kind of like that werewolf movie they did. You remember the streaming werewolf movie? I think
yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
Werewolf
Yes,
by
I do
Night.
actually. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they
I
should have
love
made it
that.
more like. Yeah, I think they should have made it more like that. But that said, I
We
love
got
I can't say enough good things about Wonder Man. I loved it a lot. So yeah.
we got that in episode 3, the Dormant episode. We got the black and white Marvel Spotlight style,
Yeah,
which,
Yeah,
by the way, I thought was really cool. And
yeah.
we can come back to that. I don't mean to jump ahead too far. And yes, Smoke Yaya has played 3 comic book characters now. This guy literally walks across all the things, all the worlds.
yeah.
He's been an Aquaman. He was what's his face from
Black Manta and,
He was Black
Aquaman.
Manta and
Watchmen.
Aquaman. Yeah.
Mm.
He was in the Watchmen. He played what's his name, Doctor Manhattan, and then he played now this. So yeah, the guy's unreal. So, but for me, I think what I really dug was we've never gotten such a full picture arc before when it comes to this to a character in the MCU. We get WandaVision, we get her at the end starting a new thing of some sort, and I guess they tried a little bit with Ms. Marvel, but at the same time, she sort of ends at the beginning of her journey. So this is the
Right.
first time we see a full range arc, start,
I
middle
would
to end.
say
Well, very well astute observation.
we got in an 8 episode series about the equivalent of Tony Stark's arc from beginning to end of the Infinity Saga.
This
That's
You know,
true.
show,
Yes.
I saw someone in the chat say they've heard enough and they're going to give Wonder Man a watch.
Oh my God.
It
Yes.
is really, really
yeah.
good. It's yeah.
It's yeah. Don't listen to the
And they've been
formerly known
sitting
as.
on it for two. They finished shooting it 2 years ago. Why have they been sitting on it so long?
Okay, so
I
real quick, Preacher says, "I just wish it wasn't another show about the industry." I want to push back on that for a second, guys. Please feel free to jump in on this thought. I don't necessarily consider it. I think the industry viewpoint and lens is a vehicle. It's a vehicle because it shows specifically we're seeing another side of the MCU that we didn't actually get to see. I This is the show I wish She-Hulk would have been, and I don't mean that about Hollywood, but I mean it shows you the world that superheroes inhabit, and because of like the Dorman episode, which sets up a huge thing. To me, the Dorman Clause is almost the equivalent of, say, the Sokovia Accords, in that it's a piece of legislation that ultimately pushes across an entire, like you feel ripples all the way across the thing. So you get to see the superhero world through the lens of this of Hollywood, yes, but mainly it's almost like that show that didn't happen, which was about damage control. It was the damage control show was supposed to happen, and it was supposedly all the people who have to deal with all the fallout from superhero encounters. So I liked. I didn't see it as an industry show, and I know why you would think it was or feel that way. I felt like the whole time we were watching a superhero having to deal with stuff, and every so often you'd see it in the explosions that happened and everything else. That, it was hit. I saw it as a vehicle. Guys, what are your
And
thoughts?
I'll say this on that. I don't. I get what you're saying about it being an industry show, but I think what this show does, and it does really well, because keep in mind, they have one of the finest actors of the 20th and 21st century, Ben Kingsley, who has been completely wasted in 90% of his projects.
He was so
But
good. He
but
was
you
so
have Ben
good.
Kingsley in this, and
Yeah,
then you have Yaya, who is also an insanely good actor, and
yeah,
you give them an opportunity to show you exactly what an actor is capable of by showing them not just in their character, but their characters developing characters. And the scene that I really appreciated as a person with something of a theatrical background myself is watching when Simon is breaking down, he can't get it right, and he goes out on the balcony and he's just lost it, and out comes Trevor, and Simon, just lays it all out. I can't, this is, and then Trevor's like, okay, now use that, and then they do the scene, and you
yeah,
felt it, even though you knew they were just playing other characters.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with
And
that.
so
I,
it was powerful, and it shows, I think, that acting really is a craft, where most of the time actors are treated as just a joke. Now
I
they did treat the director as a joke, but that's that's a
well,
whole.
I do want to say if anyone's read my Iron Man 3 review on Critic List, my least favorite part was Ben Kingsley because I was a huge uh, uh, fan of the Iron Man comics, and when I heard that the Mandarin was going to be in Iron Man 3, I was super excited because that's his Lex Luthor basically. And
Mm.
when
Yeah,
it ended up being what it was, I was so I roasted that movie. I hated that movie when it first came out. To me,
right on.
this show, like I love this character, Trevor. Like he was so good in this movie, man. I call it a movie. It's basically a movie. You know what I mean? The
It
Wonder Man.
absolutely is. Absolutely
Yeah,
is. That's why I hated the shorter
It's
string.
a
So I
three
agree
and a
with you.
half hour movie.
yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think if you just cut out the intros and all the other credits and stuff and literally watched it back to back, it'd be fine.
It'd be
Take it back.
way better too.
Yeah.
I hated like it kept breaking it up. Like
And it's funny because you mentioned the narcissism of that is very common in actors, and yes, it's there in Ben Kingsley's character where he's always reminiscing about the great things that he's done. And although it's not like a parody of narcissism like we see so commonly in film.
But he's also trying
Uh,
to make his mama proud. As a mama's boy, that I felt seen. He kept bringing up how he.
That's hilarious. I love you. No, so okay. I want to push back on the narcissist thing as a guy as a self-proclaimed recovering narcissist. I felt like you saw the difference. I think that Wonder Man's character Simon absolutely suffers from that, and you can actually see that in every interaction he has on a lot of bases. I think Trevor is actually on the opposite side of that discussion. I think he's been through the ringer and is in a more humble place to want to be like, but like you could tell when people start asking him about his history and about movies and questioning, yes, then that old rises up, that pride, but he's very much been humbled by life, and he's just like, look, I'm just
well,
happy to
because
be
the Mandarin
not
thing.
at all.
Well, not just the
Exactly,
Mandarin thing. I mean,
exactly.
you got to think about. He
Uh,
says he's been 13 years recovering. That's a huge, like, life
right.
changing thing.
Well,
That he.
but think about it. What put him into recovery? The Mandarin incident.
Yes, by the way,
Yes, yes.
I'm assuming this question is about what I had to say. What I said when I said recovering. I'm a recovering narcissist.
Oh, I thought
Meaning
you
I
was
that
talking
just
about
like with
Trevor.
Danny and alcoholism, it's very
yeah,
easy for.
100%. It's 100% easy
Yeah,
to. And in fact, me calling myself Mr. Know It All is actually a feint to try to kind of help deal with that up front in a way that is both funny and a little bit reductive. But yeah, no, it's legit. I'll happily explain that a little further. It's going to be boring as hell in the show, so I'm not going to do it here. But yeah, I'm happy to have that conversation. Yeah, you're right. Streeter points out his girlfriend left him because he was focused on his failed career.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know if he has a failed career, he had recurrings and he
no,
didn't
his
talk a
girlfriend
lot.
left him because he would. And they even touch on it in a later episode when we see her again at the bar. She left him because he wouldn't open up to her, and she knew about his powers, but he was so wrapped up in himself and so closed off, he didn't know that she knew, and she was just waiting for him to tell her, and
But
he never
but
did.
think about what
So,
you just put in that sentence, Danny. He was so wrapped up in himself.
Yes.
That's what a narcissist
Well,
is.
there you go. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and we just leave wreckage behind us and don't really care. So literally later on, when he meets her again, by the way, we're going to start talking spoilery type stuff because I do want to get into the major arc in this thing that to me was a defining moment in the series. But when later on when he meets with his girlfriend because he's worried about what she might ex-girlfriend worried about what she might
might
have
have
told
said,
the
yeah,
reporter, she's like, hey, I loved you. It's okay. You think I didn't know? It's fine. You had other priority, and I was like, oh baby, you're like, bro, you let the wrong one get away, bro. She understood and stayed with your lame ass that long. I was so mad. I felt both of them in that moment because I've
yeah.
been on both sides of that seat, and I was like, oh, bro.
If I may, we have a little bit of wrestling royalty here. Joe Cronin, thanks for stopping by to check me
Hey,
out, buddy. I appreciate you. Just want to give you a
what's
little
going on,
acknowledgement
man?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I love that. But hold on, that's right. Mr. Know-It-All is going to deal with his narcissism by talking about himself.
Yeah. That's exactly
I
how
love
you
that so
don't
much.
want him dealing with it.
I love you, Street Preacher, bro. I love you. Keep it humble, bro. Keep it
Oh,
humble.
that was good. That was
That's
good.
awesome.
That was
That was the
good.
best. No, okay, so we're gonna get into this because I really need to. And I'm gonna go straight to it. The moment he calls him, and I say Trevor calls him and is like, listen, you're going to be okay. I want you to go on. You're going to do great things. And then they show this thing, and the minute he shows up on the screen as the Mandarin, I want to tell you right now, F everybody. I was like, oh my God, because the show did the work of letting you understand every time somebody asked about it, every time somebody like was interested in it, you could see it in Trevor's face. He was like, yeah, that was me. It was a thing. It was a part. He wanted to stay away from it. And the fact that in that moment he embraces it to save his friend, bro, I got emotional, man. I was
I
Oh
like,
did
yeah,
too. No,
God,
I did too. That was
I was like, oh my God, dude.
that
this was
was
a bromance almost worthy of Shatner and Spader. Man, I'm just saying.
Bro. What are your thoughts, Salty? What'd you say?
Oh no, I love that moment. The only thing I didn't like about it, but I get it because it's a TV show and all that, was that it didn't quite feel the same as the Mandarin moments from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I mean, you can always write it up to, well, he doesn't have the production team working with him that Killian gave him. But But yeah, as soon as you see the Ten Rings logo and the static on the TV, and he's like, "I have done it," and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh
Oh,
man,"
and
Time
he
for
owns
another lesson.
yeah,
and the thing is, I love the fact that you're right. Even though it wasn't the same production value, it was still the same ideas. He's like, "I want to talk about
right,
something historic. Here's some pictures. Here's some, and I'm gonna make it all make sense." And you're like, "Oh,
yeah.
dude," and I just, it hurt my heart, and just the fact that he owned it so thoroughly,
But
and
then we got the beautiful scene at the end,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That was
Well,
so
yeah,
oh
there wasn't like something me and Mr. Know-It-All were talking about is there's no big battle at the end of this series. We never
no.
see Wonder Man do battle with his evil doppelganger. We never.
yeah.
Or what you
We,
say on our phone call? You said the thing in the sky. There was
yeah,
no,
the sky.
you
There's
know,
no sky beam and world-ending
yeah.
threat.
Yeah.
It was just he went to prison to bust out his friend. And in fact, I like the whole thing because when he's sitting there talking to the old man, I thought he was seriously researching a part right up until they're driving to the prison.
Oh, I actually knew right away what was going
And then I
on.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I get it. So
Yeah.
No,
I
yeah, it's
I
crazy.
uh, I really dug that.
Yeah, no. Make sure again, everybody who is on wherever you're watching from, or wherever you're watching, wherever channel. If you want to interact with us, you want to be on the Nerd Fighting at Nerd Fighting on YouTube, and that's where the primarily. But we're simulcasting across channels, so hopefully you guys share your particular link and just kind of get more people here involved. We'd love to have this conversation with more folks. We absolutely love. We're trying to grow this thing, believe it or not. So I really appreciate everybody here. Who's it's so funny. Street Preacher goes. Lore
Oh, sorry.
Reloaded is on so no, you're fine. Lore Reloaded is on so many channels. I haven't had time to give them all a thumbs up. I appreciate it. No, totally. Would you have what was the question? Would
Would
you
you
suggest
suggest
Wonderman to someone? Oh my god, yes.
100. 100.
All
it
the
is?
and
Honestly,
I
yeah.
and I was angry and I was mad. I would this was not an this is not one of those times where Mr. Know-It-All is like, oh, I'm gonna give this an opportunity. After Ironheart burned me, I broke my heart. I went into this so hostile. I went into this going, show me something. And then sure as
Iron
crap,
So
at the
I
end of the
checked
first
out.
episode, I'm like, oh my god, this is good. Good next episode. I'm
So,
such a shield for this crap. It's
to
terrible.
that.
Ironheart is the first and only Marvel project that I have not finished watching.
So I never watched Ironheart. I didn't watch Miss Marvel. Like I've been checked out for a while. Only reason I watched this show is because you guys told me to for today's podcast, and I'm so thankful you did because this is the
Right on,
best
man.
thing Marvel's done in a
In a long time.
Well, but
yeah.
then you look
Yeah.
at if you because actually forget about Ironheart for a minute. Uh, then you had Daredevil Born Again last year, and season 2 is coming up, and we had one good and two great movies last year.
Yeah.
So I think that Marvel is definitely turning things around. And so for all the naysayers out there, I'm not going to name anybody, neurotic, but the naysayers out there that are constantly crapping on this stuff, they're just doing it to do it at this
So
point. They're on
so
autopilot.
if I can reply to Street Preacher here,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah. Hit
helped.
it.
It helped because it should have been a movie. They should have just
I
released
agree.
it as a movie.
I agree.
Honestly, I think it's too bad. I think the reason they dropped it all at once is it was a desperation move because
Well, they
people,
almost. Or go ahead. Sorry.
well, people are disinterested in Marvel right now, and so they figured if they dropped, because people usually watch the premiere and then they'll come up with reasons why they hate it and never go back to it. And so if they drop the whole series and and fortunately most of the people that actually watch it and talk about it as opposed to the people like that we're used to talking about, people that are actually paying attention to it are raving about it. The people that are hating about on it are people that are either clearly haven't watched it or just rage bait to rage bait.
And well, let's face it, that's what they do is the rage bait thing. But if
Oh, I feel bad. Real quick before you go into it, right here, I want to answer this. I'm just actually now hearing about this character. Is there comics about this character? There are comics about this character, and there's even some folks in the chat who actually do like the character. I have never liked Wonder Man. That is not a determining. You shouldn't judge whether you are going to like him based on that. I've never liked the West Coast Avengers, which is what he was primarily a part of. This show did more for the character than I've ever seen done for the character in comics. So, but again, take that with a grain of salt. I didn't like the character. There's a lot of you might, so I would say check it out because I've heard there are some good runs. I just never saw them myself. Please forgive me, Danny. Continue.
Well, before I get into what I was going to say, speaking of take it with a grain of salt, you can get our take it with a grain of salt t-shirt on nerdfightsshop.com.
That's
So what
right.
I was going to say was I went down a little bit of a rabbit because I don't know anything about this character either. I
Yeah,
tried to
yeah,
go down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I really, really, really enjoyed this show, and I found out some really interesting things. Um, they tried, so they shot a couple episodes, and then the writer strike happened, and then
yeah.
the new Disney head came in and he tried to scrap it all together to write it off on their taxes as a loss, and everybody involved in the show basically begged and pleaded, please let us finish the show. They finished principal photography on this show 2 years ago. They've sat on this show for that long. Why? And then they dropped it all at once. And a lot of people feel like that was them saying they just want to get it out there, get it out of the way because they have no faith in it. And this, if that's the case, it's blowing my mind because this really is their. Did you guys hear about the same stuff too? I mean, like,
Yeah.
what do
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna interrupt. I wasn't going to interrupt you. Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I did. Did you hear that same stuff, Salty?
Yeah, and I'm glad that they did eventually make it. I get that the studio, because let's be real, Marvel for the last, prior to last year, Marvel has not been exactly hitting it out of the ballpark. You know, uh, Deadpool and Wolverine was a lot of fun, but it was not your typical Marvel movie, and never was going to be. So
They did.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
For me,
and so yeah,
go ahead. I think for me,
they did drop a line about it in the show.
all right, all right. So we've talked. I think we've filleted the show enough. My quick question: what is if you have a gripe? What is your biggest gripe ultimately? And ultimately, what do you want to see them change? I don't think they're going to do a season two, but if they did do a season two, because these are Marvel spotlights, and the spotlights are supposed to kind of be standalone stories, and we can have that conversation. You like them or don't. But what are your thoughts? What are your biggest gripes? Because
My biggest gripe is not knowing what they're going to do with the character. I want to know because Wonder Man is a heavy hitter as far as power level, and I think that he would fit right in with the Avengers, and I would like to see him show up in Doomsday, but I haven't heard anything about Yaya shooting on Doomsday or anything. But I think he would be a good fit. Is he going to show up? Probably not, but I would love to see him. And so, will we ever see Wonder Man again? I have no idea.
wow, that's weird. Go ahead, Danny.
What was the exact question?
What it's your question. What is your biggest gripe, and ultimately, what would you change if there's a season two?
Um, my biggest gripe, I've said it a few times, it should have been released as a movie. That's really the only problem I had with it. It should have just been released as a movie. As far as a season two,
Yeah, yeah. What do you think?
sadly, I don't think we're ever going to see season two or Wonder Man ever again, based off of stuff I've read, unless this show does gangbusters. But I'm sure people in the fandom menace are already shitting on it for no reason. So who
Oh, they
knows?
were
Um,
6 months ago.
Yeah.
I feel
So
like I honestly, my biggest gripe is the same thing as I wish they were longer episodes. I wish they were longer. Like, give me 4 hour long episodes, and I'm down. I feel like that would have been fine.
mhm.
But I do hope. I don't think we're going to season two because I think the Marvel spotlights are supposed to showcase characters, but they should be showcasing characters to then springboard into. I'm not their own movie, but into something. So when they show up in like a Doomsday or some other movie down the road, it's not weird. Or if we see something like, "Have you seen blah blah blah?" and it's Wonder Man, at least we go, "Oh yeah, I know him from this other thing." So I don't know, man. I don't know that you need a six unless the second season is them putting together the West Coast Avengers, which again I'm not because Vision's in the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, but they
Like
have
people
white visions out there. So,
in the comic book, I don't think we need to get racial about it. I think
hey,
I think
I'm just saying.
in the comic books, Wanda
Hey, we could
cheats
have
on
Black Wonder Man and White Vision. Why not?
in the comics. Wanda cheats on Vision with Wonder Man. And so I'm like, which is arguably the most interesting thing that they ever did with the character of Wonder Man in the comics. The only reason why I remember that. But yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. I'd love to see more of what they end up
So
coming up.
and make this clear, Stan. Wonder Man. Okay, so Simon obviously is Wonder Man's alter ego in the comics and in this movie, but yes, Wonder Man is a fictional character in this movie's universe because it's an old superhero property that's being remade, and Simon happens to get cast in the lead role. So this is a totally different Wonder. This is a completely reinvented from square one Wonder Man from the comics. Don't think of this as an adaptation of the comics. It's not.
No, not at all.
And so his origin story is nothing to do with what you see in the comics. And you know, to even call him Wonder Man, well, it's because he played Wonder Man in a movie. You know.
So Phoenix says, only white vision. What's wrong with Mexican vision, sir? That's where you find the Bumblebee insurance guy, just to throw a joke out there. Anyway, it's a Spanish culture.
Nasonex.
Yeah, moving on. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what are some of the other, let me see where we at. I know we already sold.
Do we want to give it a score? You know, if we were to put this on Critic List or something, do we want to do that or no?
I have a review for that. If you guys want to go see my review,
Okay.
you can.
Okay.
I'm not at the end of the day because it's like it's nuanced. It's nuanced.
Let me guess, Danny, you're going to give it a 99.5.
No. Probably like an 85. Probably, yeah, I'd give it an 85. Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Awesome. This was the most impressive thing. That's all I'm going to say. This is one of the most impressive things for me that I saw in a long, long time from them, it didn't turn me around, but it definitely made me go, "Oh my god, they made something good," and that makes me happy. Yeah. So hopefully we see more of that kind of stuff.
Well, like I said, I'm looking at Marvel right now. Again, putting aside Ironheart, because Ironheart is another project that was part of their let's crank out the content. But
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the best, but I would say it's one of the best.
Yeah, I would definitely put it in top tier. Whatever, if there's a top tier of MCU shows, these
are different shows. These are very different shows. Asking if it's better than Loki is not a fair question.
That's not fair. Yeah, it's apples to apples, man. Yeah.
Loki came with a lot of baggage and overhead, and they had to do a lot of leaps, and they had to do some things to make it that special and big. Whereas this is two guys acting, and you don't see a whole lot of special visual effects or special effects or superhero stuff up front. You see some, but not nearly that much. And to me, this stood on its own feet without having any of that baggage. You didn't have, like Wanda, we had attachment to, and all these other characters since then we've had some semblance of attachment to. This was 100% thing we'd never seen any inkling of, and it carried its own. I thought it carried its own water pretty well.
It's Friday night, time to get your nerd on. We got Mr. Know-It-All, the salty trekker and Danny Dork Knight. Are y'all ready?